I'm Rachna Rao. I've been with Zynga for about 3.5 years. Before that, I was in the IT services industry, so I'm 3.5 years old in the gaming industry.
Uh-huh.
I've been a product manager at Zynga during that time and worked on Farmville 1 and Farmville 2 with a primary focus on monetization and revenue management.
All right, all right. So moving on, ma'am, this happens to be your second time at
That's
NGDC?
right, yes.
How are you liking it this year?
Oh, it's been fun. The energy levels are high as always. Some great talks and great developers here. It's been fun.
Oh, nice. So what do you find different this time of the year in NGDC?
Nothing, I wouldn't say different, but the energy levels are just as good and everyone is as enthusiastic and excited as they were last year. So that's awesome to see.
All right,
and I hope that continues.
All right. So tell us a little bit about your journey from the ID sector to Zynga.
Right. It's been an amazing experience,
joyride,
really.
Practically
yeah,
a joyride.
absolutely. Not easy, but great fun. Just going into work every day is fun. Even if you're working like 12 to 14 hours a day, you're making games that people enjoy playing. So it's been a great experience moving from services to product management. We're much closer to the player because it's your end user is someone sitting in their house playing a game at the end of the day.
Because they don't know what the backstory behind making the game goes like.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been a fun experience.
Right, all right. So you also had a session here at NGDC.
Yeah, that's right.
So tell us a little bit about your session.
So the session was called the Premium of Freemium. So
interesting name for a session.
Yeah, for sure, very catchy. My boss came up with it.
All right.
What it was about was how to monetize a freemium game. How do freemium games make money, right?
All right.
So the tricky part about freemium games is it has to cater to a wide variety of people, right?
Right.
Now, there are people who are never going to spend a single rupee in your game.
Right.
And they don't play it very often. They play it 2-3 times a day, 2-3 times a week. And the game needs to be fun for them. And also for people who've been playing your game like 7 hours a day for 5 days a week and who spend a ton of money in it, right? Now, those guys are say at level 100 and the casual players are at level 2 or 3. Creating a game that works for both these sets of people is where the challenge lies, right? And figuring out how to make money while at the same time retaining players is the biggest challenge.
All right. So, Ms. Rao, tell us, like, in your opinion, what would be like, say, 2 points in which you can try and monetize your game in an efficient way?
Personalize your game to different types of players, because like I mentioned, that becomes the biggest challenge.
All right.
Eventually, when your freemium game becomes like a few years old, the way to monetize is to make things tougher, right? And make it more challenging for your high level players. But at the same time, that impacts your retention because the lower level people can't manage those quests and those features.
All right.
So smartly bucketing people into different groups based on their capabilities is a very important requirement to monetize and increase the lifetime of a freemium game. Another really great way to market your game is to use out-of-game channels, in fact. We do a lot of marketing on fan sites and forums. We have community managers who talk to the players, try to understand exactly what they want. Because sometimes there's only so much you can really pitch in like one 2D screen, right? So having a conversation with your players is really important. So I'd say these two.
All right, which brings me to my next point, ma'am. You are a product manager at Zynga.
That's right.
And I really wanted to know, you see, when you develop a game as a product manager, I think you would be efficient enough to like answer this. On this point, a lot of times what happens is when you are developing a game from scratch, you have to somewhere compromise.
Right.
When I say compromise, maybe there's a deadline you have to meet.
Right.
Maybe the funding is not enough for it.
Right.
There's something or the other which hinders
Absolutely.
a game from being 110% or 100% perfect.
Yeah.
So how do you differentiate between what you can compromise on and what you cannot? And do you really need to compromise at all?
I think you do need to compromise actually, and that's really important to get your priorities right and ruthlessly prioritize, right? The temptation to do everything before you launch is always there, right? For example, does your game need to be localized in 10 languages? Maybe it's a global game that is going to be played across the world, but do you really need to globalize it, across the world before you launch it? If your game eventually needs 200 levels, Do you need to go with 200 levels at launch? No.
No,
Right?
probably,
So instead of doing a poor job of launching everything, it's really important to ruthlessly prioritize. Just launch with 4 levels if that's what you need to do. Launch
Okay.
in one language. But polish and make sure that what you do launch is of the highest quality. I mean,
Okay.
I've seen this happen personally, you know, getting caught up in trying to do everything and doing a mediocre job of everything.
All right.
So, you know, having regular scrums, meetings every day to prioritize what you believe is your MVP, your minimum viable product that
Alright.
can go into the market,
Uh-huh.
and polish that. So it's the best minimal.
It's like of the paramount quality you can find.
It's like the best quality. It doesn't have a zillion features. It might not have 100 levels. It's exactly what you need to launch, and it's phenomenal quality. That's absolutely very important.
All right, all right. So, ma'am, before I let you go, any message for our viewers?
Keep the energy going, and I hope to be back here next year to see, you know, some even more awesome, cool stuff.
All right, all right. Thanks a lot, Ms. Rao. It was a pleasure talking to you. and
Same
an
here,
honor.
likewise.
Thank you.
Thanks.